So we are live. Welcome to another episode of the Greatness Engineering Hour show. And as usual, you know that I don't disappoint you. I always bring you champion leaders, trailblazer that actually gonna bring you value. And what I ask you is to really, make sure that you participate and don't hesitate to ask question or even be part of the conversation. Today we're going to focus our conversation on value-based leadership. So it's something that we can all relate to. So make sure you have your pen, you have your paper, and you take notes. And you know what I say. Yes, it's good to take notes. It's good to listen, but after that, you need to apply it and take action. So, who is our guest today? Our guest today is Jan Roberts. Jan Roberts is based in Scotland now. Used to be based in South Africa, and is the co-founder of Kai Leadership Institute. So he's also a founder of Speaker Club, and he has a lot of experience, international experience. So he's a certified coach, trainer, a speaker. He works with the John Maxwell team, and he's also certified under Les Brown, and also doing a lot of work and have accredited certification for youth development. And he is also a co-author of a best-selling book called Living Without Limits, 30 Mentors to Rock Your World. And like I said, he has an extensive international experience. He used to work in the oil and gas industry, just like me. And he has over 30 years experience as a supervisor and project manager working internationally in Scotland, Brazil, Poland, Switzerland, and you name it. So I'm not gonna, spend time to introduce him. He's gonna have the opportunity to introduce himself. And I'm really looking forward to have a great conversation with him because he's a specialist on the subject. And I hope you're gonna enjoy the conversation. And so stay tuned. I'm coming with Jan, and get ready. Let us know where you're watching from, and also if you know of anybody who's not present today or can't really watch this show live today, make sure you share, make sure you start watch parties now or later on, so that the knowledge travels and don't just stop at your level. So let's start and welcome Jan.
Right? On memories. But as I got older, I started to be more aware of some of the abusive sides of
So here we are. This is Jan. Hello, Jan. Welcome to the Greatness Engineering Hour show. It's such a pleasure to have you today. and to get the opportunity to talk about one of your favorite subjects, which is, value-based leadership. So before we get really excited and really start the conversation, who are you? I mean, let us know who you are, and tell us a little bit how you traveled, from being, somebody working in the oil and gas energy to becoming one of the leader, an international leader in leadership and transformational leadership.
Well, thank you very much, Mireille, and to be a guest on your amazing show. I mean, by the way, I love the music. I was already getting into my Friday mood
Yeah,
here.
that's what I saw. I was like, okay, we're starting very well today.
Yes, but to be part of the Greatness Engineering Hour show is a privilege and a pleasure, and I really thank you. And as we talked about a while back now, really, that we have a lot of similarities. Both come from an oil industry background, and yes, I spent 30 years in there. I mean, obviously, I started when I was 2, obviously, but it was amazing because. I always knew that I should have been doing something different in life. I didn't know exactly what, but there was more to life. And that didn't mean that I hated my job. I actually quite enjoyed my job. And when I started coaching training, I spent 10 months of the year in hotel rooms. And some people think it's wonderful. Yeah, 3 weeks is, but 10 months is a bit much. But so I started engaging myself. I was a personal development freak anyway. My friends called me that because I didn't buy newspapers. I bought books instead. And I came into coaching. And when I started coaching training in 2009, I realized I'd been coaching for 25 years because I did exactly that. I asked questions and I wanted people to come with the answers so I could learn from them. So it's been an exciting journey. But at some point, and we're gonna talk about that shortly, about this whole values-based leadership. But I got an opportunity, and I grabbed it with both hands because we all have opportunities around us all the time. They're everywhere. And somebody once said it is better to be prepared and not have an opportunity than have an opportunity and not be prepared. So for me, that whole development, I've always been preparing, obviously, for leaving my job. And I did it without any trepidations, without any guilt or feelings that I should be staying there. No, when the time came, it was not if not now, then when. We keep making excuses for ourselves about why we cannot do what our heart really tells us. And I told my boss, I said, I'm finally going to do something that my heart tells me that I need to do. So, I mean, the journey has been amazing. And as you said already, in 2012, I also became part of the John Maxwell team where I'm executive director. I also said more than 25 years ago, if somebody's ever going to teach me how to speak, it'll be Les Brown or nobody. Be very careful what you ask for. So this also happened. So I've been blessed, really, looking back and to do things you really love. I wish everybody could get that feelings. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but I'm originally a Dutchman, and we emigrated in the late 70s here to Scotland. And the last 5.5 years I've spent with my partner. We built a key leadership institute in South Africa, and I've spent most of the time with her. And only less than 2 weeks ago, I got a flight home with all this carry on here. So I was fortunate to actually come home just before my dad's 83rd birthday and celebrate. And but I mean, it's been an amazing journey so far, and I know there's a lot more to come. I always say, there is no way I can die before I'm 120 because I've got way too much to do, and even then they've got to catch me. They better put a metal plate at the end of the coffin, otherwise I'm going to slide straight through there. Les Brown always says, live full, die empty. Well, there's a lot to come yet. So that's me.
That's a lot to cover with it. Yeah, that's really good. We have full house today. I think you're. Let's just have a look here. Who we have. We have Archie, super excited about this session. She's watching from South Africa, and she's obviously a special admirer, so that's good. And then you have Michael. Michael is listening as well, and I think he's watching from Denmark, if I'm not mistaken. And then we have Ichiken. She's watching from South Africa. Yeah, a lot of people from South Africa. We have Pat as well. Pat watching from South Africa. And again, already, we have some excitement and in the house. So just, to start our conversation, what is value-based leadership? Because we know we hear so many so many terminology around leadership. You have transformational leadership, value-based leadership, and all-time leadership. So what is it?
Well, yeah, thank you for the question. And as you already said, it's a passion of mine. And this is what I just talked briefly that something happened that I got an opportunity to change my direction in life. And values-based leadership, it is a title that scares a lot of people because they hear about values and they are a little bit concerned about that, and then they hear about leadership and they say it's not for me. And I always talk about that leadership is, everybody's a leader, and self-leadership begins with self-development. But values-based leadership, it is actually a program, a process which is powerfully impacting entire countries. And it started more than 40 years ago in Amish country in the United States. In Berlin, Ohio, that's where the training is done now as well for specialists, which is an amazing experience all by itself. But in 2013, John Maxwell asked for volunteers from his mentorship team to go and help start transformation of an entire country. And I mean, I volunteered because I thought I've never been asked before and I'll probably never get asked again. So that was an exciting trip. But what happened was I never expected. John always used to talk about, once you have tasted significant success will never be enough. And I thought, I didn't know the difference. But I found that in Guatemala. We went to Guatemala, a country with 14 million people, average age only 20. So you can imagine the problems they had. And 150 years from around the world volunteered. And, we didn't know what we were going to do. And this is genuine. Paul Martinelli, the president then from the John Maxwell team, he said, we're going to go somewhere to do some things with some people at some time. 150 people followed them. And that is no joke. I learned about the values-based leadership process there. We had to get, of course, Spanish interpreters, which most of them are 16, 17 years old because average age only 20. And then in 3 days, between 150 years, we trained 19,000 people to become facilitators in this process. Now, the process itself, it's as it says already, it's about values. Les Brown always says that the reason leadership is failing around the world is because of lack of values. And I also say that it's not something that we train people in values. I normally talk about the reawakening of the awareness of values. And these are simple human values like respect, honesty, connection, forgiveness, restraint, hope, hard work, attitude, basic human values. And we so often are not on the same page and we haven't got a good understanding. The value of listening is always an amazing one because everybody overestimates their own listening capabilities and underestimates everybody else's. And when you really find out what listening is all about, and that is just one example, but it is such a simple process, but Guatemala is changing. There is now more than 1 million people have gone through there. We've been to Paraguay in 2016 and have been back several times since, where we trained 17,000 people. Another team went to Costa Rica, where I didn't join, in 2018. They trained 15,000 people. And because me and Arti, my partner, who's also a specialist in this amazing, impactful, powerful process, we went to Ireland and helped start the transformation of Lift Ireland with another friend of ours who in Ireland wants to uplift Ireland. And LIFT stands for Leading Ireland Future Together. So it's a powerful process. It's a simple process, but it impacts every single person who gets involved in it. And I say to people when I train them as facilitators, take this home to your family because you will change, no doubt about it. And, to see that change happening is just, every day is a blessing. It's as simple as that.
Okay, so very powerful process, and it's really important to come down, because sometimes we lose ourselves. But like you said, it's all about simple human values, and we have to understand that. And I think Arti is, she actually agree with whatever you're doing. So the value-based leadership began in Ohio, and that's the powerful impacting people, addressing human behavior issue. So really good. So let's have a first break, and then we'll come back and continue this exciting exciting conversation, and we'll be back with Jan focusing today on value-based leadership. So don't go anywhere. Take time maybe to sip a glass of water or coffee wherever you are, and then we'll be back with Jan.
I think you can only lead with impact and integrity. There's a difference between leadership and doing a job. There's a difference between leadership and being a boss. There's very traditional leaders, what I call EBITDA leaders. They're bottom line managers. They got a goal to hit, and every year they'll hit their number goal. I think there's the second type of leader, performance-based leader. They've got the EBITDA piece to it, but they're looking at other measures of performance, and they might look at a little bit longer time period. And then I think there's real leadership, and that's the values-based leader, the leader who knows he has to have an EBITDA target, who knows there's more than EBITDA as a performance goal, but realizes that impactful leadership produces great performance, but other things as well. And it's those values, it's the integrity, it's respect, it's teamwork. Values-based leadership puts it all together, and I think that's the direction the most successful companies are going to go. I think that's the place we all want to work at, and I think that's the leader we want to follow.
So we are back with Jan, focusing our conversation today on value-based leadership. And one question I have, Jan, is, what do you think, value-based leadership, brings to human beings, but also organization, because we are in the fourth industrial revolution. There's a lot of disruption. There's a lot of uncertainty. Now we have a pandemic. How do you think this value-based leadership, and how do you think it can help us to really get, be efficient in this time where we have all this disruption?
Again, a great question, Mireille. It's actually, especially at a time like this, we've actually got normally the values come in 10 values per module and 1 value a week, but we've got a module with 6 values, especially for this time. And the values in there is connection, listening, restraint, self-esteem, forgiveness, and hope, which are all so important at the moment, because, I said a long time ago that with the fourth industrial revolution, and we're so stuck to these kind of things all the time, that they're talking about social distancing. I thought we started social distancing ever since we got these kind of things, and we've lost the emotional connection, and it is so important, because I said a long time ago, we need to start getting the industrial revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, with all the technology. We need to connect it back with the human touch, and I believe already that the fifth revolution is going to be back to the human touch. But nature has given us that opportunity. For whatever people believe about it, I think now more than ever we need to connect on an emotional level to our friends, our family, and anybody, because loneliness is creeping in, anxiety, fear, depression. So what values-based leadership, and Artie and I have actually renamed it as sustainable personal development, because that's really what it is. And I can talk for days on how personal growth is so important for everybody on a daily basis. So to be able to sit around a table with other people, it's a totally different conversation. I mean, we've talked amongst ourselves as well. We don't really necessarily talk so much about values-based leadership anymore, because, as you said as well, there's titles, and the lady mentioned it as well, all kinds of different titles. But every kind of leadership is about building relationships. How do we build relationships? Is by asking better questions. How do we ask better questions? By listening. There's a value and a half. But if we can listen to each other and start to understand each other, I mean, I think it was Stephen Covey who said, begin with the end in mind, and you need to understand before being understood. With the crises we've got around the world, and again, riots happening in America, even though I've got no paper, haven't bought one for more than 35 years, and don't have a television, I know that these things are going on. I just don't need that information constantly in me. But what we constantly need to be reminded of, how powerful we are as human beings, how amazing we are, and how good we could be if we all connected and started listening to each other. So it doesn't matter whether you're in a corporate. This process actually changes the culture of any corporate, any government, any organization. It changes its culture, because we become so much more connected. And that the value of connection was actually written by the people who developed this in the Global Priority Solutions, who are the people who train us. They've got a track record over 40 years now of this stuff. And it is so amazing to when you're even the value of connection, how powerful is that at the moment? We need to connect with our fellow human beings. We need to connect with ourselves first, but we also need to, once we connect with ourselves and start asking a few more honest questions to the person in the mirror, we need to connect with other people. We need to, it is so powerful because it gives people, even virtually, we do it virtually. We've got a group in Lebanon, we've got a group in Pakistan, we've got a group in Europe at the moment, where we're working with people around the table. We discuss these values, we talk about ourselves. Everybody's got a voice, everybody gets listened to, and everybody matters. It's not about any specific people matters. It doesn't matter whether you are Muslim, whether you're Christian, whether you're atheist, whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're Indian, whatever. We sit around the table together, and I say there's always a seat around my table. If we the process is so powerful because, as we said, it's so simple. But if we can sit around the table, and even in diversity and inclusion, Arthur, you just she's my partner, of course, and you know, she's also a diversity and inclusion specialist. When we do diversity and inclusion training, and if respect is an issue in the organization, we bring the value of respect in. If it's listening, we bring a value in there as well every time, because it's so powerful that people realize that they're finally on the same page, finally the same understanding. And what is more powerful is that, you know, we can read all the books we like, but if we don't take any action, people used to say, and I'm sure you've heard it, knowledge is power, but it's not power. Knowledge acted upon is powerful, and I will go even further. Knowledge acted upon and then evaluated every day is even more powerful, because then we can learn from the mistakes we made, and we can bring those, we can move into the future more successfully. So Evan, there is part of this is, you know, you learn about the value, and in the next week, it's a weekly one. In the next week, you have to set yourself a SMART goal, a human basic personal SMART goal. So in the next week, you're going to do something with someone or some people at some time and some day. So it's got to be very specific so you can manage it, but you are taking action on what you've just learned. You implement it, and you rate yourself with a self-evaluation. So what happens now is, you know, we are all getting so afraid about asking questions that just in case we upset people. But now we're all talking about ourselves. So now the person who's sitting across the table from you are talking about ourselves. Now we're going to learn about them, their cultures, their thoughts, their beliefs, and everything. And there's no judgment. So everybody's level, whether it's a CEO and the tea lady, and that's no disregard to either two. It's just a level in the business, because we're all, as Arthur always says, at the level of respect, everybody's equal. And that is powerful standpoint. If we can bring that in and sit around the table, regardless of who you are or where you come from, we'll sit around the table and we discuss things. We're going to have things in common, and it's only when we listen to each other and start to understand each other, rather than be so judgmental. And everything that happens at the moment, it's causing so many negative emotions, and anger and frustration and depression, and we need to sit around the table and discuss things. So it doesn't matter where it comes from. You know, I say, you know, let's have a seat around the table. Let's discuss things. And if it's maybe there's a problem with attitude, then we have a value of attitude. If it's a teamwork, or let's sit around the table. Let's begin there. Let's begin to have a conversation where we're all equal. We all listen to each other and all start to understand each other at a human level. That's the power.
It's powerful, and really, you know, I agree completely, is that, you know, we've lost this human touch, and in this, you know, with all the disruption and everything, people are in fear, and they really, you know, stay in this fearful you know, world, and they don't really want to look at the positive sides of things or even listen to anybody. So like you said, now, you know, when you talk to people, you're really careful, you know, to choose the right word. Otherwise, you know, you get upset. Otherwise, it takes another turn, and it becomes very, very difficult. But, you know, one thing that I really, you know, ask myself is, you know, the education system as well it doesn't help. You know, the way they teach in schools, in university, it's always about competition. It's always about, you know, being the best. So it doesn't actually promote, you know, this collaboration that you're talking about. So how do we, you know, how do we address that? You know, do you have any idea?
Oh, you might have guessed I've always got ideas. I'm full of ideas. But yes, you touched on a very important subject, because as I told you before we started, after this, we've got a celebration of a certification where we actually take them to the next level. And these are people who are actually in colleges and universities. And it's actually, they actually call them the next gen leaders in Bangladesh. But it is so important that we start young. As you said, the education system had a purpose, still has a purpose. But when we come out of the education system, they teach us what to think and they teach us when to think. They don't teach us how to think. And that's why it's also so powerful to get younger, because we always think that little children are just empty vessels that we need to pour into. Now, education, the word educo, is from the old Latin word to draw from within. Now, where did that happen in the education system? That's why coaching is so important, because real coaching does exactly that. And what is real coaching? Asking questions and listening. So to get a solid foundation for these youngsters, it's not just about the values. The values are the tools, but to actually get youngsters to connect more than just this, to start connecting with each other on a human level early on. And we have Arthi's son is 14-year-old Kailash. Extremely proud of him, because he just 2 weeks ago finished a roundtable process with 10 youngsters from 10 to 14-year-old. There was one 16 and an 18-year-old. He did it from South Africa in Pakistan. So he took 10 youngsters through this process, and he started himself. He became a facilitator when he was 10.
Wow,
and I think,
that's
and to see the growth, that's why I say, as long as anybody can read, and if they can't read yet, we can read for them, but to start understanding how important it is to have a human connection, because it is our life source. When we can connect with each other, we can draw from within, we can draw from others' energy, but we cannot do that just by sending a message. And it doesn't matter if you've got 5,000 Facebook friends. We need to get back to basics. As I said, social distancing, that doesn't mean we have to be socially distant, and certainly not emotionally distant. We need to start connecting with people much more often, much better, because it is one of the healthiest things we can do. We talk about everything that's wrong at the moment. We don't have the conversations about what can go right, and how if this is right and that is right, the holistic side of the person will become right. And there is so many health benefits of being happier going to work, because now you connect with people, being happier at school because we get to connect. This fact that we now have to sit 6 feet apart, or 1.5 to 2 meters apart, and they have to screen. It's sad to see the pictures. I'm saddened by the whole picture of that. We now need to do our best to keep each other separate, and we live in fear that we can't even go to our jobs because somebody might infect us, or somebody might. The power of the might and the power of the fear is unfortunately so much more powerful at the moment, so much more prevalent. And evil prevails when good men and women do nothing. Now, I'm not saying it's evil, but in a way, negativity, anxiety, fear, depression are evil things, which we can provide an answer for if we connect with them. And don't think that our youngsters are suffering just because they're home and they don't go to school. They're suffering greatly, and the result of that will not be told until maybe years to come. But we need to really get everybody to start connecting, and at school level the same. If we can build their self-esteem, because it's personal development as well. So especially if we can help them build their self-esteem. Say you mentioned the 4th industrial revolution. There's a lot of companies still hire for skills and fire for character. So that means that they shouldn't hire for skills anymore, because the skills are changing faster and faster and faster all the time. I mean, you remember the big bulky phone we used to have, and now you can you get a slice actually stuck to your arm, and that's your phone, and eventually it comes 3D out of the ground, and all this kind of. I can't keep up with it, but the thing is, it's fascinating though. But the thing is though that we must never ever forget the human touch, because once we let the human touch slip further than it has already, and we have this is a reset button. we have a brilliant opportunity right now to get back to human level with our families. We've been locked down, and you know, I mean, I don't even, there's a whole different subject there, but I mean, the suicide rates are going up, the depression rates are going up, the separation rates are going up, the domestic violence is going up, the gender-based violence is going up, all because we're stuck with each other and we don't know how to communicate. We don't know how to connect with each other because we're so busy going back and forth to work and outside the house, and all of a sudden we're all day in the house together. And yes, frustration happens. That's why the value of restraint is a brilliant one, where we sometimes need to show restraint, that we don't say everything that comes into our head, or at least say it in a better way. Think first. And then, of course, we have the value of forgiveness, because sometimes we do say things and we need to ask for forgiveness. But so many people don't know what even forgiveness is. They think it's somebody else for you, somebody else for asking for forgiveness when someone goes wrong. And within that, it clearly states, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So to be able to actually forgive yourself sometimes first for even thinking bad thoughts, or forgiving another person, even though it might have been their problem. And I have got so many stories that it actually did happen, that people realized what they could do better, what they could do different, not only to help themselves, but by helping themselves and by going out there and reaching out to other people, that they were helping the community at large. And we all need to get more into this.
Wow, that's so powerful. And I think Artie is going crazy in the comment box. So I will try to capture some of her comment. But first, we have Archie, obviously, this process also, you know, the talking about value-based leadership process also powerful, stimulates personal understanding of self. And she has as well, I mean, it's our greater gift to ourselves, is the ability to look within and observe us of our own shortcomings and adjust to get better results from people around us. So she's obviously well in line with you, and really, you know, understand what it's all about. We use these values for men development. It was an eye opener and stunning. Yes, so that's really good. So let's have another break, and we'll come back and continue to dig deep into value-based leadership and understand a little bit more, you know, how the power that it has and how we can implement it into our life. So don't go anywhere. We'll come back with Jan and continue this very insightful conversation.
Do you want more from life, but don't know what to do or how to go about it? Within us lies a treasure that makes us authentic. It has the potential to raise us to a higher pedestal in life. We are all born with the seed of greatness. There is no single person that is not born with the ability to achieve extraordinary results and live an outstanding life. Award-winning entrepreneur, public figure, empowerment advocate, and inspirational champion, Mireille Toulekima, for 20 years has stepped into Africa, Europe, Asia, and Australia, directing many towards success. Also appearing on CNN, Business Insider, Sheen Magazine, and CBS, she continues to teach that there is nothing more powerful than your mind to serve your calling, continuing to advise all to make each day your masterpiece. Continuing to step into her territory, she has become an international leader, teaming up with CEO and founder Janelle Harris of She Exists, helping many step into their own greatness. Be the spark of greatness the world is looking for.
So we are back. We are back with Jan, and really, getting deep into understanding what's value-based leadership, and I know that it's a very very deep subject as well, especially with what we're living right now, and the environment that we are in. So one question, can you actually share any particular instances where you've gone through the process, and some best practices in terms of value-based leadership in your own, in your own journey, in your own experience, or with any particular case?
Oh wow, yes. I mean, again, a great question. And as far as stories, I could probably tell stories every day, because the impact this has every time. It actually is something that, if nothing else happened, this will get me out of bed every morning, because knowing it's worth it. And it's, sometimes people talk about changing the world, and it's not about that. It's impacting the world together. And when you listen to the stories of impact of people, even a simple one where even as early as when we were in Guatemala, one of the groups I trained was a group of colonels and generals in the Military Intelligence Academy. And I had two 16, 17-year-old interpreters with me. And we went through the value of listening, and all of a sudden a colonel stood up. At first the kids were scared, because the military coups and all this kind of stuff that had been on there. And I said, well, these are just humans following orders. And they were sitting there, and I said, relax the kids a bit. But the colonel stood up afterwards, and the simple step for him was, and he stood with tears in his eyes, even that was impressing the youngsters, or left an impression upon them, is that he said, on Tuesday night, this was his simple goal, on Tuesday night after my meal at 6 o'clock, I am going to sit down with my wife and children and apologize for not being a good husband and father, because for the first time I realized I've never really listened properly to them. So I'm going to apologize and promise to do better. Now, that alone, when he stood with his tears in his eyes, the youngsters, the 67-year-old youngsters, they couldn't stop talking about it on the way home, and it changed just that one thing. It changed not only the colonel and his family, obviously, but also the youngsters who were listening to this and witnessing this. It changed their life, because they became facilitators in this process, and they talked to their parents about it, and we had the parents joining in as well. And we have on forgiveness. I was doing a training. And even in the training, we go through some of the values to train him in the process. And there was a guy who said about forgiveness, he said, his simple step again was that he said, I finally realized that if you're not part of the solution, you're still part of the problem. And my step this week is, I haven't talked to my brother for more than 2 years, because he did something terribly wrong. And I said, but my goal this week is, because of what I've learned now, is I'm going to phone him on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock and ask for forgiveness. Now, I still get goosebumps when I even think about all these kind of things, because the impact it has, not only the two of them, but their immediate family and the wider families. And another one on forgiveness, a little 13-year-old girl in school. She was sitting in a group, and every group had an adult with them as well. And one of the adults called me over, and he said, this young lady has an interesting take on forgiveness. And so she told me, she says, I cannot forgive. I can't forgive my friends, but I can't forgive my mother. And I thought, okay. And I asked her to explain this. She said, well, if my friend says something and she doesn't do it, okay, it's only a friend. I can understand and I can forgive them. But my mother really says she loves me, and yet sometimes she does things that she either doesn't follow through with it, or she says things that I really don't like, and I can't forgive her. And I thought, well, the simplicity of youth anyway. And so I asked her, I says, have you already set your goal for this week? I first asked her, does your mother know this? Well, she's my mother, she should know. And I said, have you actually talked to her about it? I says, no. I said, oh, so have you set a goal yet for this week? And she smiled and says, no, but I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go home tonight and talk with my mother about this very issue. Now you can imagine the change in relationship that will have between her and her mother. And these stories go on, whether it's with an individual person or with so many other persons. I mean, I've listened to so many now. I've experienced so many myself, because it doesn't matter how often I go through these values. Or there's 48 in total, but how often I go through some of these values, every time I learn something new. And it's not because there is more in there. It's like sometimes you read a book and you read it again a year's time and you think, hey, that wasn't the book the last time. Well, nobody rewrote it for you while it was lying in your cupboard. But you know, we keep growing, and that's why we need to keep growing. And the growth that brings, it's people, many people don't even set goals in their daily life, because they see as goals as the big car, the big home. No, it's the little steps, the little things that makes a difference inside of you, the little things that make a difference around you. And where you can make a difference around you, that's where significance sits in. Because success is for yourself, but significance is to make an impact in the people around you. And you know, although you know there is no problem with earning money on that, but it's impact before profit. And you know, I have lots of conversations with people, and I said, you know, if it is very difficult to sometimes to put a monetary value on something like this, but the fact that we are just a tiny screw in that big cog of life of these people, and don't find that we've helped them a little bit and support them, because in the end, I don't make the difference. I've got enough of a problem changing myself, so to change other people is a fallacy. But I can at least impact other people, and they need to make the change. I had Michael, the guy from Denmark. We actually had a conversation about this morning, and this is the truth. We can change ourselves, and that's what the saying, be the change you want to see in the world. That means that we need to change from within. You know, that educo, that draw from within, the change from within. When we change ourselves, everything around us changes. And in the process, if we pass that on and share that with other people, then, you know, the world will be a much better place.
And I think Michelle have some comments as well. Ask yourself question, explore your thoughts and answer, and also who am I? I'm my current belief anchoring or lifting me. And really, you know, begin, and that's what you said, always begin with yourself, because you have to be able to change yourself first if you want to see any changes, you know, around you. And that's really very important to know. So it must actually be a lot of pressure for you, because, you know, it's quite a powerful message. So really, you know, to live up to this standard, because you're teaching people. So I assume that you have to be the role model as well. So how do you live that? How do you, is it a pressure at all, or is just so natural now that you don't really think about it? And my question, you know, you've been doing this for quite some time, is what does it take to be a good leader? In terms, if we're really looking at value-based leadership, what do you need to be a strong and good leader with, you know, this type of leadership that you're promoting?
Wow. Okay. Yes, and a great question. And again, Michael, who you just had on your screen from Denmark, that's something else we talked about this morning. You know, we need to be the example. You know, be the change we want to see in the world. That means we need to be the example. We cannot. There is too many organizations where, well, I use actually even in a family context, that the father stands there with a cigarette in his mouth. You should never start smoking because it's bad for you. I mean, and then people and youngsters see. I mean, it doesn't matter how much you say, it's what you do matters. So you know, people feel this. You know, have you ever walked into a room where you know something's been going on? You can't quite put your finger on, but you know something's going on. And I always say, everybody lights up a room. Some people when they walk in, and some people when they walk out. So you better be the one when you walk in. But when you get this feeling, and this is the same with everybody. So, you know, sometimes you already get this feeling before even somebody opens his mouth. But it is something about them that you like or don't like. And that's why it's very important. For me, it's not no pressure, because I've always said, you know, when you work with values, and you know, it comes natural. Of course, you got to work on it, because we're only human. And sometimes I do say something I regret, and that's what happens. You know, it's the power of the tongue. You need to think about it, because once it's out there, you can't take it back. As we talk about, you can't put toothpaste back in a tube, and those kind of things. we need to really, if we want to impact other people in a positive way, and that's why, I mean, I now, as a title, I call myself global influencer, but that it doesn't put pressure on it, but it makes me aware more of what I'm doing. And yes, being human, sometimes I would, whether I would like to kick somebody's backside because the frustration, but I don't do it. You know, it's metaphorically speaking, but I think more, and in the martial arts many years ago, we learned to, you know, you either react or you respond. And when you react, it's because of what other people do. When you respond, you actually think about what happened to you, but what happens within you is much more powerful. So you start within you think about this, and then you respond, not react, because reacting is always a bad thing. So when you put all of this together, and over time, for me, apart from the fact that you can hear I'm quite passionate about this whole thing, and I love doing this, and I love sharing with people, and I love impacting people, because to me there is nothing better in this world. It's you know, there is 2 days in your life that are important: the day you were born and the day you discover why. Well, when I found out exactly that missing piece in Guatemala, for me it was a done deal. So leadership, to get to that second part, leadership. What now makes a good leader? And it's not a values-based leader. It's an authentic leader. It's all these kind of leadership titles. A leader is great when he can learn to build relationships, because leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. That's a quote by John Maxwell. And strangely enough, this weekend they've got their international Maxwell certification virtually for the first time, with 5,500 people online. But John is very wise, and I love what he does. And people sometimes say, "Are you a John Maxwell person?" I says, "No, I'm a person using John Maxwell's material." There's a big difference as part of my training. But I love what he says, and I love what he does. But influence is not influence over people; it's influence with people. And we go around the circle again. How do you get influence with people? Is build relationship. How do you build relationship? Don't tell them things. Ask them questions. How do you ask better questions? Learn to listen better. So really, all leadership is about building relationship. You can put a title to it. You can be managerial leader, transformational leader, all this kind of stuff. But you will be a transformational leader. You will be an authentic leader. You will be all of the above, an authentic leader, if you work within, and you actually you care about other human beings. And this involves coaching, I suppose, in a way, because he said one time as well, and our coaching master as well, Christian Simpson, he talks about this a lot. You know, you only get answers to the questions you ask, and some of us need to start asking some better questions. Firstly, of ourselves, the person looking in the mirror every morning. That's a frightening prospect for many, I know. But it is, if you can learn to love people more, because if you go up the levels of leadership, starting from a boss where people do what they're told because of your position, that makes you positional leader, and then you go up the leadership level. The only way you increase your leadership reach is when you connect better with people, and you know, it could be much more difficult. And I'm a simple kind of guy. If we learn to love people, if we can learn to lead people from the heart, if we can learn to connect with people where they're at, and don't preach at them but ask them questions, because we learn much more when we listen than when we talk, and from there, that's why these round tables are so powerful, because most of the time everybody sitting around the table will listen to each other and respect each other. And so that is important. And you know, when you see the excitement of this kind of stuff, and in fact last night I had a call for 2 hours with a friend, Corey. We're also in a group in Lebanon where we started this process called Courageous Conversations, where we have people at the tables. Even though it's the values, but we call it Courageous Conversations. Again, a wonderful title. And you know, have a seat at our table. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. And Artie actually wrote a value about compassionate leadership, compassion. And she's writing a book about the compassionate leader of influence. And we started with that, and you know, just the compassionate value alone changed 2 people in the room overnight, and that's how we are now developing this. But Corey decided to go and become a specialist, and he got trained last week. He phoned me up last night. He said, "Jan, I need to talk to you." He said, "Amazing guy, passionate about." He says, "I mean, I've got the key to the secret." He says, "I can't sleep anymore. Is that natural?" I said, you better tell your wife, because I mean, I was 7 years ago, and I'm like this now. And he's laughing, and so we had a 2-hour conversation. But the insights he had, and it's only a week after he'd been there, the insights he had, and he says, we've got a solution, we've got an answer to many of man's problems, and it's as simple as sitting around the table together, and it's the most beautiful thing, and to listen to somebody like that, and it's like looking in the mirror and listening to an image, but to see people who, as we grow, and I think, we went on these transformational trips, and it's an amazing. But I think that whether you are in Australia, whether you are in the Netherlands or in South Africa or in America, whatever, there is enough people in any community, in any country, who are interested in bettering their country and bettering their family life, their community life, their company life, and their country. And not only who talk about it, who are willing to stand up and make a difference. And real leaders stand up, stand out, and make a difference. So if we get them to sit around the table and start making a difference in their own family, in their own group, and from there teach other leaders to lead, help other people facilitate the process, because it's the trainer process, and then get around more tables. It's a exponential effect of this will reach around the world. And I know it doesn't matter whether you're in Egypt or whether you're in South Korea, and Colombia has changed into a tourist country because of this process. Some amazing people have been at work there for many years. And it doesn't matter where you are, in prison, in government, or whether you're in a community school, in the outlying communities, your life will never be the same. And that, I said it in a positive, loving way, because it is just what it is, and it's beautiful.
Wow, the passion! I really like this passion, and it's just amazing to see that. But it's just so true. I mean, it's simple, but we complicate things, and sometimes we just lose what's important, and that's a shame, really. So, just our last our last comments here. I see that we were talking about role models, Artie. Jan is a stunning role of these values and constantly growing on a daily basis and never stop growing. Fantastic. And I saw as well, I think is more to really have a laugh a little bit. You talked about sometimes people need a bit of a show, but a kick could hurt. So that's from your friend Gunter, and also again, Gunter, and influence with great people can make a massive difference to your life, and hang out with the right people is one of the key. The keys of success. And you're right, it starts with us, but then if we want to continue to be influencer, we have to grow our cycle and really little by little grow this influence, starting with us first, knowing who we are, and really now go into our environment and then get it spread and teach people to also become influencer, and then you start to influence the world and have a positive impact. So unfortunately, we're getting to the end of this conversation, and it's just been so good, and your passion has been so visible, and I know that you can talk about it the whole day, but unfortunately we have to stop at this point. And one of the questions that I have, and I always want to ask this question to my guest, is what is the legacy that you want to leave? I mean, you've accomplished all of this. You've been all over the world. You have this passion. So what is really the legacy that you want to leave, Jan?
Oh, wow. And that in one or two sentences, it's wonderful. I mean, first of all, to have amazing friends around us like Gunther and Mikael and Raj and Sheikh, and of course the support I constantly get from Artie. That means a lot to me. The people who are supporting us in around the world. I mean, they've got amazing programs going on where we are involved in. But in the true essence of legacy, the simplest way is to make sure that my life counted. But it's not enough. I mean, the reason my life counted where I worked, but it was not enough. I thought, I can do more, I can be more, and I can help more people if I keep developing. And I say, there is so much more to give, and to actually know that. I mean, I'm going to go all out, and I say my legacy is to change millions of people for them to live a life of significance.
Mm-hmm.
Millions of
Mm-hmm.
people, because living a life of significance for them means that they also pay it forward. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mother Teresa started with changing one person, and surely that is worth living for. And I thought, with all the fourth digital revolution, with everything we've got at our hands, we can impact so many more lives. And for me, to keep loving these kind of processes, to keep impacting other people, and make sure that by the time it comes to us all eventually, but they better catch me first, and when they do. I want to look back and say, I've had the love of my family, the love of my friends, which I'm surrounded by amazing people who are, some of them are actually here online, and I really appreciate them. But to be surrounded by amazing people, to have impacted millions of people by what I do and what I say in a positive way, to me, that is a life worth living, and that's as simple as that.
That's a powerful legacy. I mean, making sure that people live a life of significance. That's just great, because sometimes people just belittle themselves, and if you can actually help them to understand, to realize the power that they have, and the power that they have, not only to change their life but to change other people's life, you're just doing something phenomenal. And we have to understand that we have the power to change people's life. We are unlimited. It's just our own mindset. And like you said, get back to the basic. Get back to the basic, the values, and really connect with other people. Develop those relationships that are very important for us to really become influencer and make a positive impact. So I mean, for those who've been listening, it's been amazing. Like I said, this platform was full of energy. You could see how Jan was talking about the power of value-based leadership. And so if you want to get in contact with him, I'm going to ask him, how do people get in contact with you if they want to continue this conversation, or even just, have a little bit, get to learn a little bit more about value-based leadership, or any other aspect of your expertise?
Yes, thank you very much for that opportunity, Mireille. And first of all, of course, we have our leadership website. It's called Key Leadership Institute. Artie will probably put it in the comments box. It's KI and then Leadership Institute. And also JR Speakers Club. And Key Leadership Institute has got a whole page and with a slideshow about this whole values-based leadership, even videos from when we were in Guatemala and the background. But, I would love to speak to people who want to make a difference and who want to step up and make a difference wherever they are with whatever they've got, and to use this as a tool to impact lives. We always interested in speaking with people and how we can add value to them from this. And there is a few people online here as well. We're developing entrepreneurial programs to make sure that we have more people who go out there and develop themselves and develop other things as well. So if you're interested in especially this and some of the other programs, have a look at our website. Our email addresses are there as well. Connect with us, and we will do what we can. We look forward to meeting like-minded and like-thinking people, because the only way we're going to make a big difference in this world, and the world needs it, because the world's hurting just now. We need more people like you, and we want to make a difference together, because alone it's a big job, and we don't have to do it alone. But that synergy is there. I can feel it through you as well. You are also passionate about what you do, and if we can get together, we will make a big difference in this world from today forward.
Fantastic. I think I have gathered all the information. So for people, the website is here. So www.catleadership.com, and then there's another for the speaker club. And Jan is on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, so you can't miss him. Is there, so you have no excuse to start to learn about, value-based leadership and interact with Jan to get to the next level of your greatness and really step into your power, because we need you. And like I said, it's good you've listened, and Jan came really with his energy and his knowledge to share all of this. It's not to put it in your drawer. It's now time to take action and act on it, and make sure you also take the lead wherever you are, because you don't need a title to start leading, and you just need to continue to connect and understand that you have the power to impact people. You are unlimited. And my motto personally is to leave nothing on the table of life. So get really to use everything that you have. If you don't have it, get to learn. You have people like Jan here with this massive knowledge, so you have no excuses. And that's the last word. So last message, for before we leave, and before I go into the talking about what's coming next. So what is really the key message that I know that you've already started, but the really strong key message that you want to leave the audience with before we leave this platform?
First of all, I must thank you for giving me this opportunity. And if you haven't shared this with your friends, and share the greatest engineering show host with everybody you can, because there is so many great speakers on this platform that you missing out. You should have FOMO by now if you haven't seen the previous speakers, but I'm sure there's ways in which you can address this, but make sure you share this. And for me, as far as I'm concerned, is, in the end, everybody's got a purpose. Everybody's got a passion. Everybody's got a destiny. Don't leave that on the table, or worse still, leave it under the table, as Mireille just said, and I fully agree with her. Make sure you do your best to find out what your passion is, what speaks to your heart, and have the courage, because it takes courage. Have the courage to stand up, have the courage to work for it, and have the courage to make it a reality, so you make a difference in your life that you never dreamt of before. It's a possibility, it's an opportunity, but only if you decide why.
Fantastic. And that's again another powerful message that Jan is leaving us with. And I really thank you, Jan, for your time, for your insight, and for your energy, and for your passion for today. And I'm really, really grateful for that. And for those listening, of those who are going to watch the replay, please, like I said, make sure, if you really want to get it, if you want to know a little bit more about the subject today, or a little bit more about what Jan is doing, please make sure you connect. If you want me to do this connection, please reach out, or you can connect with Jan directly. He left all his contacts for you to follow up. So that's all for today. It's been an amazing hour. And please share, please take action, and don't just leave it and no action, because this is great knowledge which is given to you for free, so you can do something with that. So don't forget to act and to go to the next level. Okay, so thanks, Jan, and I wish you to have because it's afternoon on your side, so have a great afternoon and have a great weekend. And I really love the conversation that we had today. And I'm going to make sure I take action myself, because it's one thing, like you said, I have to be a role model. I can't just tell people to do it. I'm going to take action myself. So thank you so much, and have a great day and a great weekend. See you.
You too. Thank you very much.